running for president and traveling is very, very difficult. So let me first thank you on behalf of the world Jewish community, my Israeli brother, my sons who are fighting in the IDF. Governor, what has your trip been like?
Incredibly eye-opening, Shmuley, and confirming everything that my instinct led me to believe from the United States. The atrocities by Hamas are just unspeakable. And the thing that struck me the most was not just the inhumanity, but it was the joy they showed in acting inhumane. And I think the public in the United States and around the world needs to know what Israel was subjected to and the horrible, horrible things that were done to innocent civilians. And I intend to make it my business as a candidate for president and as an American to talk about this trip extensively so that people know just what Israel is having to battle with Hamas and the awful terror that they visited upon the innocent Israeli people.
You know, we invited many presidential candidates to travel, and they all said the same thing. Like it's an act of insanity to leave the United States when you have to win primaries and win over American voters and go to a foreign country. Yet you made this trip. Why?
Because I think if you want to be president of the United States, you need to understand what's happening here in Israel, what's being visited upon our closest ally in the Middle East, and to be prepared to deal with it from day one. And I don't think there's any other way to really truly understand it than to come here and see it for yourself. And I think anybody who thinks they're going to be president should get on a plane and get here to Israel as soon as possible.
Governor, I too visited the Hamas killing fields in the south of Israel, Sderot, Be'eri, Kfar Aza. But for each person, seeing those horrors is an individual experience. Can you tell us, I know it's painful, can you tell us what you saw and what you experienced?
Well, I was in Kfar Aza and walked through many of the homes there, still with blood-soaked furniture, blood-stained floors, shell casings still everywhere from the horrible shooting that was going on and killing of innocent people. And when you look at what Kfar Aza looked like prior to the attacks and what it looks like now, it's almost hard to believe the amount of damage that was done and the killing that was done. And then the Israeli government shared with me a 40-minute video of actual film of the killings. And, you know, Shmuley, I only saw 138 murders of the over 1,200 that were committed. But it was so graphic. And like I said before, they showed such joy. There was one Hamas terrorist who called his parents and said to them over the phone, "I killed 10 of them. I killed 10 Jews with my bare hands. Your son is a hero." These are the kind of people that you're dealing with in Hamas. And the world needs to understand the absolute absence of humanity in the people who committed these acts.
Governor, I consider you easily the most successful governor of my state of New Jersey that we've ever had. We're a state that has had a lot of problems. You were transformative. Now you're running for president in the Republican primaries, and the Republican Party, like the Democratic Party, but perhaps even more so, is into an isolationist bent. It wants to kind of forego whether it's support for Ukraine or even support for Israel. The Republican Party is much better at wanting to support Israel. But can you see that the United States can retreat from these kinds of conflicts like in the Middle East, given that Israel is now fighting an existential war?
Absolutely not. First off, Israel is our greatest ally in the world, always has been, and we need to stand by our friends. Second, we cannot have a situation where America fills the moat and pulls up the drawbridge. We are the richest and freest country in the world, and with those privileges come great obligations. And America has never become greater by going small, by walking away, by turning their back on their friends. The greatest American presidents, whether it's Washington or Lincoln or FDR or Ronald Reagan, all stood up and made America engage in the world. And when we did engage in the world, we came out of each one of those engagements, not without sacrifice, but with our country being bigger, richer, freer than we ever were before.
Having now seen the carnage wrought by the Hamas terrorists, and I never want to make analogies to the Holocaust, even though the 85th anniversary of the start of the Holocaust, Kristallnacht, was November 9th, just 3 days ago. I never want to make those analogies, but some people are saying, and I agree with this, that even the Nazis never gloated. They wanted to exterminate the Jews, annihilate the Jews. They killed 6 million Jews, but they actually tried to cover up their crimes. They were afraid of international tribunals, which they did face, like at Nuremberg. They were almost ashamed of their crimes. They wanted to murder the Jews. With Hamas, we're seeing that they took, like the body of Shani Luke, whose mother I interviewed the other day. Hamas won't even allow women to walk around with their hair uncovered in Gaza. They'll beat them up, torture them. But they took a naked woman, a naked body, a dead body, and almost with necrophilia sadism, they paraded her around screaming Allahu Akbar. How God is great with the naked body of a dead woman, I don't know. But what do you say to those who were calling for a ceasefire in Israel to stop the war in Gaza?
Well, as you know, Rabbi, there was a ceasefire on October 6th, and it was Hamas that broke the ceasefire and violated the peace of the region and of Israel. And to ask now of the Israeli government and the Israeli people to stop before they can be convinced of three things. First, that the territorial integrity of Israel is preserved. Second, that the safety and security of the people of Israel is secured. And third, that Hamas's military capability has been degraded to the point that they cannot pose a threat to the people of Israel again. You can't ask the Israeli government or its people to stop before that's done.
And to the extent that we don't know what numbers of civilian casualties there are in Hamas, accurate numbers, because the Hamas-controlled Gaza health ministry is of course a joke, but they do build all their military terror infrastructure under hospitals, etc. Governor, now having seen the killing fields around Gaza, what do you say to those who are blaming Israel for civilian casualties?
Well, the blame for civilian casualties first goes to the people who started the war in the first place, which is Hamas. And they had killed over 1,200 Israeli civilians and kidnapped over 240. In addition to that, you've got a situation where Hamas is using their own people as human shields. Israel is doing all that they can to warn innocent Palestinians to get out of areas where there's going to be fighting. They've sent text messages, they've made phone calls, they've dropped leaflets, made all kinds of public announcements, complying with the requirements of international law. It is Hamas that on the international community. Well, to denounce Israel, when in fact it's Hamas who is putting their own people in harm's way.
Final question, Governor. If you are elected president of the United States, and you will remember, it's quite amazing, I took you to meet Elie Wiesel, who blessed you, the great Elie Wiesel, the greatest of all the Holocaust survivors. He blessed you and he gave you advice, and you showed him so much respect. My God, the friendship you have shown the Jewish community is really without parallel. If you become president of the United States, will you support Israel's right to always defend itself? Will you defend Israel in international forums like the United Nations against, say, the International Criminal Court, which always is trying to indict Israel? Israel has never asked for American boots on the ground. All we ask is to be allowed to defend ourselves. What will a Christie presidency look like vis-a-vis Israel's right to defend itself?
We will support Israel's right to defend itself, its people, and its territorial integrity without exception.
Okay. Governor, I just want you to know, when you called me today with the Speaker of the Israeli Knesset, Amir Ohana, who's my very dear friend, and just think about this, he's openly gay. He's married to a wonderful man named Alon. He's my dear friend. They have 2 children born of a surrogate from Oregon. That can never happen anywhere in the Middle East. But I know how much he personally, he's one of the most important men in Israel. He drove you all around. He took you everywhere. That's how much Israel loves you and respects you, to have the personal escort of the Israeli Speaker of the Knesset. Just think about that for a second.
Yep.
I told him then, and you heard, that in 2015, you proved your friendship and loyalty to the Jewish people without compare. When my dear friend Cory Booker, who was my student president, and we got behind him for decades to help him, elevate him to the Senate, and he made all these incredible security guarantees to Israel, only to vote for the Iran nuclear agreement and to give these killers $150 billion, which funds Hamas, which funds Hezbollah. You called a press conference with me as a sitting governor of a state. This had never happened in American history, and you criticized a sitting senator of your own state for the vote that he made to fund Israel's genocidal enemies. I will never forget that. I will never forget that. I will never forget it. You are a great man. You are a true friend. Going to Israel, and the Jews are feeling so lonely right now, Governor. I'm speaking to you from the heart right now. We're feeling scared. We're feeling alone. I have 2 sons fighting the IDF. Knowing that a powerful, strong American like you with a global voice has come to show us friendship and love will never be forgotten, Governor. God bless you always.
Truly, God bless you and your family, your sons who are fighting bravely to defend Israel. And just know that there are hundreds of millions of Americans who stand with Israel and understand the mission that you're on. And I'm going to continue to be a voice for that mission.
You foremost among them. God bless you, Governor. Thank you. And have a very safe trip back. I can't wait to have a beer or just hang out in New Jersey. God bless.
Absolutely. Absolutely. God bless you.
God bless.